All right, welcome back to Building in Public episode 5. Last week's episode we're not going to talk about it. It was pretty much me just complaining the whole time. I had a little bit of a down period, but we're getting back on track now. And today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the book that I've been reading for the past 3 weeks called Getting Things Done by David Allen. Amazing book. 100% worth the read if you are ambitious about actually, getting things done or achieving your goals, especially if you have a lot of ambitions and you're very, very driven and you have so many things that you want to do and you don't know where to start, or you don't want to lose ideas or this and that. This book is worth it. But today I'm going to talk about a few things that helped me, and now that I've finally finished it, what I'm applying to my life to actually manage all of the things that I want to achieve. Because, as I've said in previous podcasts, I'm, pursuing many things. I'm pursuing filmmaking, I'm pursuing business, I'm pursuing self-improvement, fitness. So I've got a lot of things on my head and a lot of things to juggle at the same time, and things can get overwhelming very quickly. So this book just helps you manage everything, and it allows your brain to be in focus when it needs to be, and knowing that when you're doing an action, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Anyway, let's get into the actual important parts of this book and how it can help you as well. So number 1 is capturing. So capturing means anything that comes through your brain or any idea, any spontaneous thought, capture it. Now, it goes through multiple different methods of actually doing this. You can use your phone, you can use, what I use one of these. So literally just a small notepad that I have with me all the time so that I can capture anything that comes across my mind. And then, as I'll go into detail into the next part, but pretty much I write everything down there. Any idea, literally, it could be anything from I need to take my supplements, to I need to buy chicken, to I need to finish this project or edit this timeline. It can be anything. But anything that comes across my mind that needs to be noted of, I write it down. And you can do this with many different ways. I kind of stray away from digital because I was doing it digitally for a long time. I was using Notion. But the thing is with digital is that you can have that many projects and that many folders and files and stuff like that, to the point where you actually start losing track of where things are. And as this book goes in detail on, if you don't know where your material is, or if you've forgotten where it is, or if you've even forgotten that you've taken a note of it, then it's useless. It's a waste of time and it's a waste of space. So again, develops on this in the book as well, but you need to be reviewing your material, you need to be reviewing what you've taken note of, what things you've written down, daily, weekly, however you want to do it. But one of the main thing for me was capturing ideas, because I'm working on a project right now and I go for walks and I need to have a way to capture my ideas and capture my thoughts and capture, anything in my life, not just related to the project, but in general. So having a way of capturing and then being able to allocate to its proper destination is something that's really helped me in my life. With having so much on my mind. So number 1 is actually, find a method of capturing, whether that's a small notepad like I have, or whether that's your phone, or whether that's anything. You could use your voice notes, you could use, you can use your phone notes, you can use anything, as long as you keep track and you keep check of what you have captured. Because I used to use phone notes and voice notes, and I still do it on occasion, but for me, they just get lost in the mix. So that's why I like to have it physical, because it means that I see it and I review it each night and I put it in its specific destination. So number 1, capturing. So number 2 is, right after capturing, is organizing or reviewing. Now, once you get into the habit of capturing everything that you think of, or every idea or every note or anything like that, reference material, etc., you'll need to find a way to review it and organize it, because I could have 7 of those booklets in one time with a bunch of different notes, but if I don't go through them, then again, they're useless, as I mentioned before. So going through them, I go through it daily, the brain dump, I call that a brain dump. Pretty much anything that comes in my brain, I write it down. And I go through that daily and I put it into another notebook, which is my capture notebook, which is where I have like all of my ideas and notes allocated, kind of. So for example, I'll have finish rough cut of project. And then as I'll go into the next step, but you then put that into its correct place and you then dedicate the next action on that thing. So finish rough cut of this project may have actions tied to it. So it could have find music, then it could have find music, put the narration over it, and then you want to take note of where you want to put each piece of video or each idea. So they call them projects in the book. And pretty much a project is any action or any target that has more than one action. So for me, the example I just mentioned with the timeline, the rough cut of the edit, that's a project because it's not just make a rough timeline, it's make a rough timeline, but that rough timeline requires me to find music, then edit the music with the narration, and then add footage on top of it and make a storyline and whatever, put ideas into the rough timelines. So there's multiple actions tied to that one thing and they're called projects. So pretty much you have the capture and then you allocate into it, you organize and review these, so then you can then allocate next actions. Anyway, before I go on to the next actions, organizing and reviewing is like mandatory. You want to be doing a general weekly review each week. I do it every Sunday. On Sundays, I take the day off and I spend the whole day doing a weekly review, setting my weekly targets for the next week. And in general, going through, I still have a lot of cleanup to do with my getting things done because I've got so many notes from Notion, from YouTube videos, from films. I've got a lot of things scattered, and this is how I'm tackling it from the resource of the book. So yeah, organizing and reviewing. Once you've captured things, organize, review things constantly. And the rule of thumb is organize and review it as much as you need to know that the actions you're taking are conducive to where you want to be going. I know that was a lot of things, but that's the rule of thumb. Then the next step of this book that I took is setting next clear actions. Because once you've captured all these things, once you've got all these projects, once you've got a bunch of reference material and things like that, you'll then want to allocate next actions to them, because writing them down for example, you may have something written like, I don't know, make business. But make business isn't, you could call it an action, but there's many other actions that go within making that business. As I said before, that would be a project within the material of the book, but that doesn't really matter. You can call it whatever you want. But allocate next actions. Now, how the book goes about this is allocate the very next physical action that you can do to the project. For example, with me, this rough cut edit of the timeline, the very next action would be go on Artlist and find music, or go through B-roll selects and then think of where to put it on the main timeline with the music. So allocate very next actions. Just having these actions written down makes it easier in your mind, because your mind isn't built as a remembering tool. That's not what it's good at. It's good at coming up with ideas and it's good at doing things, but it's not good at storing information. So that's why using the capturing method to have all of your reference material, everything you learn from, let's say you see something interesting on social media or in a YouTube video, or in general, having it written down and put into a correct location. Again, this is another step which I'm not going to go into in this video because I don't think it's as important as the ones that I'm talking about. But all of your material, whether it's a project, whether it's reference material, whether it's an action, needs to be in its correct location so that you see it when you need it. So for example, for me, I've seen a lot of lighting tutorials or a lot of filmmaking tutorials and stuff like that. and I write down notes. But if I can't find those notes when I need to apply those techniques, then the YouTube video is like a waste of time. So you need to have correct ways to actually reference and see the things you need to see when you need to see them. So that was a little bit more on the like storing allocation side of things, which again, that'll be more your system. You know, I use notebooks and I use Notion. So, you know, you may use something else. You may use folders and files. In the book, it doesn't mention really notebooks too much. It uses an in tray, which it uses like a paper tray. You know, those things with like 3 folders, 3 like gaps that you put paper into. But I don't have one of them and I don't think it's that useful for me. But you make your own system with this. But anyway, doing your next clear action on whatever it is. So for example, buy chicken, the next clear action would be go to the supermarket and buy chicken, or go to my room, take money, buy chicken, etc. Now, obviously this is a random example, you know, you wouldn't have to think about this too much if it was actually buy chicken, but that's the gist of things. You know, you'll probably have many projects and many things that need clear next actions, because a lot of things that we procrastinate on or that we don't end up doing is purely down to the fact that we don't have a clear next action. You know, it's all well and good saying, you know, record a YouTube video, but where does that start? What's the clear next action? You know, recording a YouTube video, the clear next action would be, okay, come up with an idea. Then the next action after that would be, okay, plan. And you know, you kind of get that each next action leads to a next action. And once you have the next actions written down, it's much more easy to follow them. It's a weird thing. There is psychological backing behind it. I don't fully remember what it says and how it says it, but having a written, clear next action to do helps your brain do it. I know that may sound weird, but try it. Trust me, it works. Anyway, clear next action. That is step number 3. And then step number 4 is kind of with next actions. So it's kind of with step 3, but it's set reminders. So this is for next actions that need to be done on specific days, or things that need to be done on days, reference material that you may need on specific days. You know, if you have a meeting and you've stored a load of notes for that meeting, it may be good to set a reminder of like, check those notes on that day or the day prior. Or for example, you need to go to a meeting on a certain day, set a reminder. Getting into the habit of setting reminders and setting dates for actions that are important, that need to be done in specific time periods, is a good thing. But also the reminders step is also just a step of actually engaging with your actions. So writing down your next actions is well and good. Doing your actions is important next. Obviously reminders is a good way of doing this, but once you're clear on your next actions, and you know, if you have some structure in your daily life, you'll know when to do these next actions, given the time, again, the book goes in depth on this, but engaging in certain actions depends on a few different metrics. One of them is context. So for example, if you need to work on your laptop, but you don't have your laptop with you, then you're not going to be able to work on your laptop. So context is number 1. Then it's time available. If you want to go do something that takes an hour to do, and you've only got 10 minutes, then you can't do that thing. 3 is energy available. You know, you may want to do something that's very intensive, or very intensive like mentally or physically. For example, you want to do a 2-hour gym session, but it's 10 o'clock in the evening and you're really tired, then that action you won't be able to do that, or you won't want to do that. And then number 4 is priority. Number 4 is kind of a standalone step, but priority kind of goes in depth on. So you might have like 5 different tasks that require the same amount of time, energy, and so they may all need to be done on the laptop. They may all need an hour, and they may all need the same amount of energy, but you'll most likely have an action that has the higher priority. So that's when you do that. But that's what I use to get things done. And those are the 4 main steps that I've used from this book. Obviously, again, my systems will develop as well. I have a lot of things I need to do a thorough cleanup of all my material. This system and these steps that I've given you right now, take them your own. You know, don't just fully take my word for it. Actually apply them yourself and figure out how things work for you. I have my own systems, I have my own logic, I have my own brain, and I come up with ideas in my own way, and I'm creative in my own way. You're going to be different. So when you take these steps and you take these notes, apply them yourself. You know, I've given you 4 steps now that you can apply in whatever way you want. You've got a rough foundation now. Definitely worth reading the book 100%. It is a large book, it's a long read, it's well written, so it's quite a fun read, but 100% worth reading if you're actually serious about achieving your goals. And yeah, that is Building in Public episode 5. And yeah, today was just the book notes from the last week, but it's actually been 3 weeks since I've been reading this book. So it's about 3 weeks worth of knowledge. But yeah, next podcast is next Monday, 12 a.m. UK, and I'll be talking a little bit more in depth on like myself. It'll be more of a raw speak about where this YouTube channel is going, where my filmmaking is going, videography, a little bit more of a personal, actually like me building in public. This was more just tips from the book that I read just now. And yeah, hope you enjoy listening, and I shall see you next Monday, I hope. Peace.